Hey guys, Anfield here. Welcome back to another guide video. Today's video we're looking at Star's End, which was added shortly after Sakraya Abyssal Ruins was added, and ultimately it's an endgame grind spot that is oriented around RNG drops with the Black Distortionary, which wasn't added originally with Star's End, so Star's End wasn't really that valuable to grind aside from getting the crystals or doing Black Star questline related things. The Massive Pure Magic, which is what is used to upgrade Black Star weapons plus 15, isn't actually that common. In fact, it's far rarer than the earrings or the crystal, which makes very little sense to me, but that's what it is. So as a result, this grind spot is very RNG because what you're really looking for is either Corrupted Magic Crystal or more preferably the Black Distortionary, which could be worth up to 300 million. So these are pretty RNG drops, which can make the grind spot kind of fun. You do get consistent trash money. The trash is worth a little bit more than Histria's trash at 15,500. Depending on your class, you may get more or less than Histria. So it may average out to more or it may average out to less than Histria, again, depending. But it can be worth quite a lot of money on its own, so that's okay. But really, what you really want is the Corrupted Magic Crystal, or you want the Black Distortionary. Now, this grind spot is very fun for me. I enjoy it a lot as a ranger, and it's much better for rangers than Histria. In fact, I would argue that rangers now should go Akhman, skip Histria, and then go straight to Star's End. Sakraya Abyssal Ruins you could grind, but it requires far more DP. It's more dangerous anyway, even if you do get the DP to grind it. And arguably, I would say you probably need more AP for that spot as well. So this is a very good ranger spot, but there's some other classes that are good here as well. Some of the more dominant grinding classes that you're already familiar with being top tier endgame spots will be very good here as well. But for rangers, it's nice to have something to aspire to because this spot is very good for us. So just a little bit of added information here before we get started on the grind. Star's End is actually quite unique in that DR isn't better here, evasion is, which is very rare for grind spots. The mobs have very low accuracy but pretty good damage, and so as a result, evasion is actually stronger, as you can see here. So to run through the rotations, this rotation here is the mount rotation, and it's very good actually. It's quite large, and overall I like it quite a bit, but not a lot of people grind here, so it's pretty uncontested if you're looking to learn it. I think honestly, once people's grind speeds improve, as they typically do in MMOs, as power increases, this will be the main rotation at this spot if it's continued to grind, just due to the fact that, well, it's larger. So yeah, that's a nice spot. I'm going to show you here the main rotation. Now, this rotation is the most contested rotation. If you are trying to learn Star's End or you're a little bit less geared, perhaps don't come to this rotation because it will be the most commonly grinded rotation, because it is a really nice loop, as you can see here, very nicely compact, so very easy to pull all the mobs and such like that. So yeah, that's a pretty good rotation. This rotation is probably the least grinded rotation overall, I think, but is also a very good rotation if you're pulling the mobs right. So this one also, again, once it's a nice loop, it's pretty nice to grind. The only problem is that little slope there, not great, but you know, could be worse. So yeah, it's a pretty nice rotation, as you can see. Plenty of mobs around. So yeah, if you're looking for another rotation to grind, again, this one you're very unlikely to be disturbed at. It's a very good spot as well. So moving into the grind, as you can see, I've set the graphics really low because FPS is DPS. Game is also in full screen, also very important to grinding endgame spots. Now you can see there, I destroyed that crystal, which has less HP than the mobs, and the mobs were all knocked down. This is a mechanic that is unique to Star's End. The crystals essentially can either A, knock down the mobs, which is the most common result, or B, it'll completely destroy the mobs and you get all the trash loot anyways if you killed the pack instantly. So that's very nice. However, what's also interesting about the crystals is that some classes prefer not to kill the mobs around the crystals. This is because they don't have really the abusive down attacks that makes it worth it. In fact, it's better for them to move around. The mobs are very slow, so they can achieve some degree of back attacks, and so they can do that, which is more similar to Histria grinding, which you do have to do a bit of anyway because not all the mobs have crystals. So as you can see here, I like to kill them around the crystals because Ranger does have good down attacks. And I kill them a little bit differently at the crystal than I do without the crystal, simply because without the crystal I'll use a skill called Razor Wind a lot to fill in a lot of damage, as you'll see in a second here. Razor Wind is really nice. It does do a lot of damage, but it has no down attack, so you wouldn't want to use it on a crystal pack where they've been knocked down. It doesn't have any down attack, so you're wasting it. So a little bit different, but obviously, like I said, some classes, because of either not enough spammable down attack, or because they don't have sufficient enough AoE to take advantage of the knockdown mobs, because they do spread out slightly, they might not want to do that, and they get even more trash power by ignoring the crystals. But for rangers, you definitely want to use the crystals, because again, we have very good down attacks. So yeah, as you can see here, I pull the mobs to the crystals, and then essentially it's just a little bit of a game of self-buffing for what you feel is worth for what the pack requires to be killed, and then you move into some damage with Will of the Wind. You do need to be careful, because right now there is a bug. I think it affects other classes as well, but for rangers, if you use skills like Will of the Wind and you run out of stamina while using the skill, it will stun you and say skill is unavailable, or please try again in a moment, I think, actually, which you should actually see. There you go. You can see it right there. So yeah, that is incredibly frustrating, because we already had a bug very similar to Razorwind, where it will self-cancel and make you stand up and you're stunned, and it says, please try again in a moment. So yay. Hopefully that's fixed. Anyways, but as you can see here, just a nice simple loop. You pull the mobs. There's plenty of them around. And when you clear the pack, then you just go into a little bit of damage. Now, I recommend, actually, if you do want to grind Star's End, I think it's 100% worth it to use monster damage add-ons here, which will add extra trash power. So that's really nice, especially when you're looking for rare drops as well, because the more trash you're making, that means you're killing faster, and as a result, you can get more rare drops, hopefully. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's self-explanatory grind spot, really. It's very nice, very cozy. It's far safer to grind, especially with evasion, than Sakraya Abyssal Ruins. That spot is very spooky. But this spot, not nearly as dangerous. I would recommend using a Frenzy. You can use Giants if you want, but I use Frenzy here, especially with a class with no self-sustain. Frenzy also applies, obviously, the HP on hit, which is nice, but it does actually give you monster damage as well. So yeah, it's pretty nice. You can use Giants, so if you are going to use a Frenzy, of course, you do need to consider that you might need to get your crit somewhere else. So for that, you can use Spirit Perfume, or you can, maybe if you have an Elfin, you can use that as well. So yeah, any of these examples are really good here. So yeah, that's the full rotation. As you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. The only other mechanic in the game is the extra elite spawn, which can spawn out of the big fat guys there, and I'll show you that in a second, so you can see what that monster looks like. But I would just ignore it and come around and kill it on the next pack. So here it is, the Apostle of Annoyance, and basically it's a very tanky big fat dude. He spawns out of the fat dudes. Yeah, it will spawn at the end of a pack, usually after you've killed the big fat one. I can't figure out if it's RNG or a certain kill speed on the fat one spawns it, or whatever. I think it's RNG, but either way, it's very annoying. Maybe you could try and completely ignore it and skip it every pack, but I just kill it when I come back around again, rather than obviously spend the time to kill it. Its rewards are, well, not that great. I haven't got anything better than what you're seeing on the screen there from it so far. So yeah, it sucks. So that's about it. That wraps up the guide. It's a pretty straightforward grind spot, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the aspect of having rare drops. In 2016, I used to grind Basilisk Cave all the time, even when everyone else was on Pirates and still doing Salsons and things. So I like the spot, but this one is far more profitable than Basilisk ever were. I can assure you of that, especially if you do have them juicy loot scrolls to use on this spot. It's really, really nice. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the guide. The only other thing I would add that I didn't mention before is that you do have to be careful of knockback and knockdown CCs, so be careful. You can't come here and be very lazy as an under-geared player or a soft cap DP only geared player. I would definitely try to have level 3 Caphras on your Tet armor at least, and obviously you do need to grind here with a Kudum. I would recommend that even if you are in the Nuva bracket, where Nuva is better than Kudum to grind, which is a small bracket. To be honest, that's kind of low AP for this spot anyways. I would use a Kudum anyway, just because of the added evasion on the Kudum. It's so nice here to have that extra tankiness. Otherwise, you're risking quite a lot. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch any more videos, I have a couple other grind spot videos. A History one, it's quite old now, so there are a few changes. Plus, there's a global lab update coming to History, which is going to expand the history of grind spot itself, which will make history much nicer to grind, I'm sure, for many people. But I also have one on Sequoia Ruins if you're interested in that grind spot. Ironically, actually, because of the addition of this grind spot, that grind spot has increased in value because Tongrad Rings and Frenzy Giraffes are all increasing in price. Excuse me. So those spots are very good as well. So, you know, plenty of good grind spots now for endgame players, which is really nice to see. And obviously we have Ash Forest coming soon, and that's going to be very scary for me to make a guide on, but I'll do my best. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.